Bem-vinda. Bem-vinda.
Thank
And
you.
bem-vindo.
Bem-vinda.
For
Right?
men. Bem-vinda for women.
So, bem-vinda.
Bem-
Beatrice. Each one over here. Bem-vinda. On behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, Khelo India. Anyway, before that, could I start? We are indeed very fortunate and blessed to have an eminent personality from the field of anthropology, from fitness, from women in sport, none other than Madam Maria Beatriz Rocha Ferreira from Brazil, Dr. Rosa D'Amico, the president of IPASCOE, Madam Claudia, Dr. Yuri, the president of XP, vice president of XP, Dr. Darling Kluka, Dr. G. Kishore, principal and regional director, all my dear PE teachers and coaches, welcome one and all to the batch 5 of the Physical Education Community Coaching Program. It is an opportunity to introduce our eminent speaker, Maria Beatriz Rocha Ferreira, who has a PhD in anthropology from the University of Texas at Austin, UT at the Department of Anthropology, USA, Master in Physical Education, Faculty of Physical Education at the University of Sao Paulo, USP, Brazil, developed a career as professor and researcher at the Faculty of Physical Education at State University of Campinas, UNICAM, visiting professor at the University of Leuven in Belgium, Leuven University of Centro Western in Paraná, Unicentro, Federal University of Grande Dourados in Mato Grosso do Sul, UFGD, and visiting research laboratory of advanced studies in journalism, LabJA, UNICAM. Madam's positions are since 2007, she's developed research at the NGIME, nucleus of the Research Group on Inclusion, Movement, and Distance Learning of the Federal University of Juiz de Fora, board member of the NGO Comari, Indigenism, Environmental Action, Culture and Education in Campinas, vice president of PASCOE, member of the Development Committee of PIXP, and topics of research and publication related to society, culture, emphasizing social diversity, figurational process, power changes, especially indigenous people's needs. On behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, Khelo India, a warm welcome to our dignified speaker, Madam Beatrice. Welcome, not welcome, bem-vindas.
Thank you.
Bem, Vendo. I also welcome
Obrigada.
the Iron Lady, I believe it's an Iron Lady, a strong woman, none other than Madam Rosa Lopez D'Amico, the president of IPASCOE, was made it truly international to get us reaching to the 5th batch. Ma'am, a warm welcome to you. It's nice seeing you because we're really missing you so much. Every day you're telling, where's Rosa, ma'am? Rosa, ma'am, finally you have entered in. Thank you so much for being with us. Madam Claudia, a warm welcome to you. Dr. Yuri, a warm welcome. And Madam Kluka, welcome to you too. I also welcome Dr. G. Kishore, all my dear PE teachers and coaches, a warm welcome. I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful session now. Over to you, Madam Beatrice, for the session.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor for me to be here and to show a little bit of my work.
And Beatrice, at times I may have to translate.
Okay.
In between. Sure.
Can you see now? Okay. Well, I'm going to speak about women in the indigenous people's game, power and social change. And I'm very happy to be here and represent IPASCOE and also IXP, and then to show some of the change that happened in Brazil. I'm going to speak to give some idea of women, power and social change. I'm going to show a short video and then the concepts of the games, ludodiversity, indigenous games concepts, major social change in Brazil that women could participate more, indigenous politics for indigenous peoples, social change, the constitution, and then the Intertribal Committee of Memory and Indigenous People Games. Okay, I'm going to show this short video. It's not about indigenous people, but it gives some idea about women. Okay, well, just to give an idea, the empowerment of women in the world. And I wish I could add Usha, Darlene, Rosa, and so many that we know, and then are close to us that are helping to change the world. And for the indigenous women, yes, they have better place. They are in different situations now. Okay, and think about games. Games is it's a way of a human being to help the development of planning, strategy, and judgment. Even the hominids start playing. We have some evidence that they had some tools that were already playing games. And it helped them to create social representations and give meaning to things. We have a lot of evidence on that. And plus, in our society, we can see the games, that the way they play, and they did it. And there is one concept that came from a Belgian professor, and then he comes with the ludodiversity. Ludodiversity means the variation among all movement culture, encompassing the domain of play, contest, physical culture, and movement expression. You can see the games, different cultures, children, young people, and how rich is the culture with the games. And Roland comes with the diverse, but they call movement. This movement, he shared in 4 spheres. They call when they call the competition is related to homo agonisms. When he calls the physical culture is related to homo exercise. And then when he calls performance or acrobatics and dance is related to homo exhibitions. And homo ludens is play and games. And then it's interesting that you can see what he brings in sport. You can have all of these spheres. I'm going to speak on homo ludens, the play and games. Usha, would you like to translate?
Sorry, not yet. I am yet to get in the translation. I'm sorry. You could continue, please. I'll speak later. Please do continue.
Okay.
Or could you just explain once again, please? Once again, please.
Which one?
The previous slide.
This one.
Yes.
Okay.
Could you explain, please, once again?
Okay. Well, that's what Roland Ransom, he organized what he thinks that is the movement, body movement, what he calls. And then when you see the top one is the agonistic, it related with the physical contest or competition. Okay. And then on the left one, physical culture and physical exercise is related with what he calls homo exercens, instrumental. The bottom one is performance and or acrobatic and dance is homo exhibens. On the right part is the play and games is homo ludens. And then he thinks that sport has all this representation. Sport means homo agonisms, homo exercise, homo exhibens, and homo ludens. I'm going to focus on homo ludens.
मैम मैडम ये बता रही थी कि रोलैंड रेंसन ने 2016 में बताया कि जो खेल है या जो क्रिया बताते हैं उसकी 4 भाग है। सबसे पहले इसका दिया है अगोनिस्टिक होमो एगोजेंस, ये फिजिकल कॉन्टेस्ट पे ध्यान देता है, जो शारीरिक कॉन्टेस्ट है, कॉम्पिटिशन्स पे ध्यान देता है। और आप अगर बगल में देखेंगे इंस्ट्रूमेंटल होमो एक्सोजेंस है, वो फिजिकल कल्चर और एक्सरसाइज, शारीरिक क्रिया पे या एक्सरसाइज पे, व्यायाम पे ध्यान देता है। और नीचे जो देखते हैं आप एक्सप्रेसिव होमो एक्सिबेंस है, ये परफॉर्मेंस है, एक्रोबेटिक है, आप जानते हैं एक्रोबेटिक्स डांस है, उस पे और परफॉर्मेंस पे ध्यान देता है। और जो आप बगल में देख रहे हैं ऑटोटेलिक होमोल्यूडेंस, ये खेल पे देती है। तो ये सारी जो है ये हमारी जो मनुष्य की जो कल्चर है, जो वो इस सारों में ये सारी चीजें खेल में भी पाई जाती है। तो मैडम अभी ये बताएंगी होमोल्यूडेंस, इस पे ज्यादा ध्यान देंगे। यस मैडम प्लीज।
Okay. And then when you think about that figure that Roland brings, we ask, where are the women in the historical process? In many ways, the women were outside. They didn't participate in sport, they didn't participate in expression, dance sometimes, start dancing, and physical exercise, and then the women is getting more and more involved, and then they are allowed to participate more. And the games when they were children, but then some games, yeah, they were not allowed, but now they are having participating more and more.
could you explain मैम? मैम बताइए, जो स्त्रियां थी या लड़कियां थी, पहले इन लोग आपको ही पता है, पहले ओलंपिक गेम्स या खेल में लोग लड़कियां या स्त्रियों को भाग लेना नहीं सकता, वो लोग उनके स्टेडियम के पास भी आ सकते थे। लेकिन धीरे धीरे बदलाव आया, जहां वो लोग आके देख सकते थे, कई रिलीजियस जो सेरेमनीज में भाग ले सकते थे। लेकिन धीरे धीरे हम देख रहे कि स्त्रियां भी कई एक्टिविटीज में धीरे धीरे करके उन्हें कई एक्टिविटीज कई इंक्लूड किए, जो कि स्त्रियां भी भाग ले सकती है। तो उसमें काफी बदलाव आया धीरे करके, अभी भी बदलाव आता जा रहा है। तो पहले से काफी बेहतर हो जा रहा है, जहां पर स्त्रियां भी भाग ले पा रही। लेकिन पहले जो बिल्कुल भी नहीं कर पा रही थी, अब हम देख रहे हैं कि काफी लोगों ने काफी उसका कोशिश करने के बाद इन लोगों के लिए एक जैसे द्वार खुला है, जिससे कि अभी स्त्रियां भी भाग ले पा रही है। थैंक्स मैम।
I just want to tell that Joenia Wapixaba is this woman in the middle. She is an indigenous woman, and she is now a federal deputy in Brazil.
अच्छा, अभी मैडम बता रही है, आप ये देख लीजिए जीवन सर मैम, कैन जस्ट शो द प्रीवियस वन प्लीज, प्रीवियस वन। ये आप जो पिक्चर देख रहे हैं जीवना वापचना जो है, ये एक इंडिजिनस स्वदेशी है। हम जैसे देखते हैं ना कि ट्राइबल लोग हैं जो आप अंदर रहते हैं, ऐसे ही इंडिजिनस ट्राइब की है, लेकिन अब ये डेप्यूटी काफी हाई लेवल पे पहुंच गई है। एक और लोग की कोशिश की वजह से काफी बदलाव आया है, लेकिन अभी इसलिए मैडम इन लोग इसका पिक्चर दिखाना चाहती कि स्वदेशी, क्योंकि मैडम का टॉपिक भी स्वदेशी भी है। जो अंदर, जो लोग पहले सिटी में ऐसा माहौल में नहीं आ पा रहे, जो बिल्कुल अंदर रह रहे हैं, वो आ रहा है। Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's think about the indigenous games. Games, there are different definitions, but the indigenous game has something very special. Games are playful characteristics through which myth and cultural values permeate. They bring together the material and immaterial world of each ethnic group. That's something very important to understand. They require specific learning of motor skills, strategies, and/or luck. They are usually played ceremonially in rituals to please a supernatural being in order to obtain fertility, rain, food. Food means hunting, fishing, gathering. That's why some of the games is related to hunting, and then only men can participate. It's related to health, physical condition, success in war, among others. They also aim to prepare the youngest for adult life, especially for the boys. They have to pass through different transition during the adolescence and then to become an adult. Socialization, cooperation, and/or the formation of warriors. They take place at determined times and place. The rules are dynamically established. There is generally no age limit for the players. There are no necessary winners, losers, and they do not require our except prestige. Their participations are loaded with meaning and promote experiences that are incorporated by the group and the individual. See, when they win, the whole group wins together and they share the feeling of winner. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. मैडम ये स्वदेशी खेल के बारे में, जो आपको देख रहे हैं इंडिजिनस गेम माने स्वदेशी खेल होता है, तो ये स्वदेशी खेल की कुछ अलग ही है कि ये लोग खेलते हैं। इसमें कई होंगे, कई हम बोलते हैं क्या, सुपर मिथ माने होता है कि जो हमें लगता है कि सही है, लेकिन वो सही नहीं होगा। वो अपना जो विश्वास है, हम लोग अंधविश्वास नहीं बोलना चाहिए, लेकिन कुछ इस तरह से उन लोग की जो कल्चर है, जो उस तरह से उसमें से आती है। तो अलग अलग इन लोग के ट्राइब्स हैं, और ये लोग क्या करते हैं कि ये लोग साथ आते हैं, जो भी अपने अपने ग्रुप का है, अलग अलग ग्रुप होता है, इसलिए एथनिक ग्रुप, अलग अलग ग्रुप जो अपना लाते हैं, वो अपने अपना रीति रिवाज इसमें ले आते हैं। और इसमें इनमें ये खेल के द्वारा उनमें मोटर स्किल्स डेवलप हो जाती है, और कई बार ये लोग इसको लक भी बोलते हैं कि अगर जीत गए तो ये कुछ लक है, ये उनका जो ट्राइब है उसमें कुछ अच्छा आने वाला है। और ये यूजुअली सेरेमोनियल तरीके से, माने हम देखते हैं कि कुछ भी चीज की शुरुआत होती है तो उसमें कई जैसे हम रिचुअल्स, आई डोंट नो हाउ टू, मेरे को एग्जैक्ट सबका मुझे वर्ड नहीं आ रहा हिंदी में बोलने के लिए, क्योंकि ये लोग लगता है कि जब भी कुछ करते हैं तो वो किसी शुरुआत करते हैं रिचुअल्स के तौर पे, और ये सोचते हैं कि हम किसी भगवानी कोई भी सुपरनैचुरल, उसको हम थोड़ा उसको प्लीज करेंगे, उसको अगर हम खुश कर देंगे तो हमारा काम हो जाएगा। कई बार बोलते हैं ना कि जब हम इस तरह से करेंगे तो बारिश आएगी। तो ये लोग क्या करते हैं, इनका जो खेल होता है इस तरह से होता है कि ये लोग इस खेल के द्वारा वो कुछ मैजिक या मिरेकल लाना चाहते हैं, जैसे बारिश हुआ, नहीं तो हंटिंग, इनकी भी हंटिंग भी थी जहाँ ही जाते हैं, और दूसरा है फिजिकल कंडीशनिंग, और कई बार होता है युद्ध, ये लोग करते हैं गेम जिससे कि वो युद्ध में भी वो जीत सके। और ये लोग देखते हैं कि ये लोग अपने जो बच्चे हैं उनको सही तरह से वो बड़े हो जाएंगे, किस तरह से उनकी तैयारी वो भी ये स्वदेशी खेल के द्वारा करी जाती है। फिर एक दूसरे सोशलाइज करना, एक दूसरे के साथ कैसे मेल जोल बढ़ाना, और हमें युद्ध में किस तरह से आगे बढ़ना ये सारी उनको खेल सिखाती है। और ये कब होता है कि एक जगह ये लोग डिसाइड करते हैं कहाँ होना चाहिए, किस वक्त होना चाहिए, और इसकी रूल्स भी ये लोग तैयार करते हैं। लेकिन इसके लिए कोई एज उम्र के लिए कोई लिमिट नहीं रखते हैं। लेकिन इसमें ये नहीं होता कि कौन जीता और कौन हारा, इसमें लेकिन वो मायने नहीं रखती है। लेकिन ये लोग को मेन रहता है कोई अवार्ड नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन अपना जो प्रेस्टीज है उसको हमेशा ऊपर रखना चाहते हैं। और ये लोग जो पार्टिसिपेशन करते हैं, इनका सारा जो गेम है बहुत ज्यादा उसमें अर्थ आता है, और ये इनको बहुत अच्छी एक्सपीरियंस दे पाती है, जिससे कि वो एक ग्रुप में, आप देखेंगे जब भी ये लोग सारे ट्राइब्स हैं या इंडिजिनस लोग हैं, ये लोग अपने हमेशा एक ग्रुप में रहते हैं, वो उनको ज्यादा सिक्योरिटी दे पाती है। तो ये सब इनको ये स्वदेशी खेल के द्वारा मिलता है। यस मैम।
Okay, if you see on the right part, there is 2 men and then a woman behind. She just finished the adolescence seclusion. She stayed 1 year to prepare herself to be a mother and to prepare to adult life. That's what it means for women there. But that's one special community in the center of Brazil, in Mato Grosso, called Camaiuri. And then they brought her from her house, the place that she lives, to bring to the festival. And then she finished that 1 year. For men, they stayed 2, 3, 4, 6 years. If they want to have a lot of prestige, they have to be in the seclusion. Seclusion means to be inside. And the boys, they go out only to fight, to learn how to fight.
अभी आप ये जो पिक्चर देख रहे हैं, इसमें आप देख रहे हैं एक लड़की का है, ये एक ट्राइब है ब्राजील में। तो इसमें दिखाते कि जैसे लड़की थोड़ी बड़ी होती है, वो जो जब हम बोलते हैं अपने सब पूरा तैयारी है, फिजियोलॉजिकल मेच्योरिटी जब अटेंड करना है, वो उसमें वो शायद अपने घर में ही अंदर ही रहते हैं 1 साल के लिए करीब। उसके बाद जब वो सब पूरी तरह तैयार होते तभी वो बाहर आते हैं। बाहर आते आदमी लोगों के लिए 3-4 साल शायद लग जाता है, वो सीधा सामने नहीं आते जब तक अपनी तरफ पूरी तरह तैयारी नहीं करते हैं। वो बाहर युद्ध लड़ने के लिए या युद्ध करने के लिए ही बाहर आते हैं। तो इसके लिए वो लोग जब बाहर आते हैं वो पूरी तरह तैयार होके आते हैं। तो उस तरह से इनका ये ट्राइब है। ये एक ट्राइब है जो ब्राजील का है, आप जो पिक्चर देख रहे हैं।
Okay, and then where the games are, I mean, the knowledge are in the mind of old people. And then we had survey research, and then they said, well, they always learn from the elders. They learn from their ancestors. That's the Canela community, the Gavião, another ethnic group. The other ones teach. It depends on the interest of young ones. They don't force them to learn, but if they want to know, the knowledge is there. And then the other one, in a way, it calls just for, they learn from the others, and then from the elders. They teach in a formal way. Children imitate adults. Games are part of rituals in the calendar.
अभी बता रहे कि इसमें जो सीख होती है, रिचुअल्स में मीनिंग देख रही थी। अभी जो सीख इसमें कोई शिक्षा के लिए कहीं जगह विद्यालय कहीं जाते नहीं है। इनके जो बुजुर्ग होते हैं उनसे वो सीखते हैं। तो ये जो गवैयो जवैयो ये एक पर्टिकुलर ट्राइब है, लेकिन ये लोग अपने जो उम्र वाले उनसे सीख लेते हैं। और इसमें ये लोग जबरदस्ती नहीं करते हैं, जो वॉलंटियर करके जो सीखना चाहते हैं उन्हीं को सिखाते हैं। ये नाम्बिक्वारा ट्राइब है, कनेला ट्राइब है, ये सब इन्होंने सर्वे से निकाला। फिर ये एक इनका ज्यादातर इनफॉर्मल रहता है, कहीं स्ट्रक्चर्ड टीचिंग नहीं है। वो लोग क्या करते हैं, बड़े जो बुजुर्ग को इमिटेट करते हैं। और इनके लिए खेल एक रिचुअल के तौर पे, इनके कैलेंडर में खेल बहुत जरूरी होता है। जैसा हमारे यहाँ मंदिर में या कहीं पूजा रिचुअल्स होते हैं सेरेमोनियल, वो रिचुअल्स यही होता है। ये बहुत सेरेमोनियल तरीके से किया जाता है, इसे रिचुअल बहुत मैंडेटरी, इसमें ये सब लिखा जाता है कैलेंडर में कि कब करना है। तो इसीलिए खेल बहुत ज्यादा, स्वदेशी खेल इनके लिए बहुत मायने रखती है। Yes, please.
Yeah. Before, only men could have access the knowledge, but now the situation is changing. The woman has more information, especially because you can find many things on internet and the videos, and the world is changing. Okay, just give some idea.
I'll just speak. मैडम ये भी बताती है, ये रिचुअल्स है, रस्म रिवाज। रिचुअल्स होती है रस्म रिवाज। और दूसरी बात है कि मैडम बताती कि पहले ये सिर्फ आदमी लोग रहते हैं, आजकल स्त्रियों को भी मौका मिल रहा है सब चीजों में भाग लेने का। तो पहले से काफी परिवर्तन आ गया है. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, when you think about indigenous people in Brazil, now we are only 0.43% of the population, very small population. In Brazil, you have the last census was 2010. Now we have more people here. Is 109 million of people. See, and that the indigenous is only 900 people. It's a small population, but they live mainly in the northwest and then in the south. And why they disappeared? Because before we think that they were around 1,500 when the Portuguese arrived, and the population was from 5 to 10 millions. But then they had wars, they had disease, pandemic. They didn't have resistance for all the disease that the Portuguese and Spanish people brought to America. And then in Brazil changed a lot with the Africans, and then a lot of immigration. See, it was a big change in Brazil. So the indigenous people now, they have some rights, we are going to see. And then the land, some of them, they have the lands right, but some of them are still fighting for the lands.
Okay. मैंने बताया थी कि पहले जब पोर्चुगीज वाले आए थे, इंडिजिनस स्वदेशी लोग आजकल बहुत कम हो गए. पहले 1500 शुरुआत में आए थे, तो 5 से 10 मिलियन लोग थे शुरू में इंडिजिनस स्वदेशी लोग, इतने लोग थे. लेकिन ये लोग बोलते हैं आज को 2010 की सर्वे बताती कि 817,900, माने ये सिर्फ पूरा जो पॉपुलेशन है ब्राजील में, उसमें सिर्फ 0.43% ही रहा है, बहुत कम रहा है. तो ये सब बच्चे, ये सब जो स्वदेशी लोग कहाँ गायब हुए? ये बोलते हैं कि कई लोग होते हैं जो युद्ध करते हैं, लड़ते हैं, उनका या कोई बीमारी की वजह से हुआ होगा, या कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा है कि इतनी सारी लोग जो है ये कम कैसे हुए. तो कई लोग बीमार होंगे, लेकिन ये देखा है कि इनका नंबर बहुत ज्यादा कम हुआ है. तो ये इसके लिए बता रहे कि जो अभी पूरा जो पॉपुलेशन है इतना जो 190 मिलियन से देखा गया, तो ये सिर्फ अभी 0.43% है, जो कि बहुत कम है. तो इसे देख रहे कि इंडिजिनस पीपल में इतना कम क्या है, इसका क्या वजह, इसका सर्वे लिया गया था. यस मैम.
Okay, just to give some idea, and then the 20th century was a big change, but they still thought that the indigenous people should integrate. Integration means they were recognized as transitory subject. They want them to prepare them to enter the civilization that they thought that they didn't have the habits, they didn't have the rituals, they were not accept the way that they were living, and they want their lands, they want to bring to the cities. And then it was a big politics that affect their life. And some of them live in the city, yes, some of the communities are nearby to the city that has a lot of problems, and then some of them are still in the jungle. But the idea is this idea of integration. The meaning of integration in Portuguese, at least, is something that it does not recognize the culture of the other.
अभी ये एक इंटीग्रेशन पॉलिसी इन्होंने एस्टैब्लिश की थी, उन्होंने शुरुआत की थी. ये चाहते थे कि ये सारे जो भी हैं आके वो दूसरे वालों से जुड़ जाए. तो इसमें कई लोग आए, वो लोग अपने सिटी में अपने और लोगों के साथ आके रहने लगे. लेकिन इसमें भी फिर भी कई लोग वहां नहीं आए, वो अपने जंगलों में अपना जो रिवाज था वो उसको मेंटेन करना चाहते थे. लेकिन फिर भी इसके अलावा कई लोग आए, क्योंकि इसमें नौकरी है, जॉब है, उनको जीना पड़ता है. तो कई लोग जो थे इंडिजिनस वाले लोग आके दूसरे शामिल हुए. लेकिन तो इससे ये हुआ कि उनका जो पहचान है वो उनको खोना पड़ा. लेकिन कई लोग आके ज्वाइन नहीं किए.
And during the whole time, the women were more inside. They didn't have a social role. I mean, outside. The men, yes, they had more, but not the women.
ऐसे समय पे देखा गया कि स्त्रियां सारी घर में ही थी, वो उनको बाहर ज्यादा कुछ काम बाहर नहीं था, सब घर के अंदर गई था. तो ये शुरुआत की थी. इसमें स्त्रियों को ज्यादा इनको ज्यादा काम बाहर का काम नहीं करने उनको अनुमति नहीं थी, वो बाहर नहीं आ सकते थे ज्यादा.
Okay, just giving an idea that the world changed, and then they had a lot of impact in Brazil, the space mobility, and they start moving a lot. The communication, they had more information through the internet, Facebook, YouTube. Some of them, everybody almost have, not people in the jungle, that's more difficult to have access, but people that are more near to the city, yes, they have more access to information. Had a lot of movements against the force of cultural uniformity in different sectors of Brazil. And then also the United Nations and other international organizations that affect the politics, and the international indigenous movement in Canada, the United States, New Zealand, and others. New Zealand was very important. Canada was one of the best ones too.
इसमें है कि इन्होंने अपनी जो नेटवर्किंग स्वदेशी लोगों के लिए ज्यादा बढ़ गया, समय के मुताबिक काफी बदलाव आया, तो क्योंकि कई लोग आके शहर के पास कहीं आके रहने लगे, वो लोगों को कम्युनिकेशन कई नेट, लेकिन जो जंगलों में रहते थे उनको ये सुविधा नहीं मिल पाई. लेकिन अभी जो यूनाइटेड नेशंस है और काफी इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, कई राज्य जैसे कनाडा, यूनाइटेड स्टेट, न्यूजीलैंड वगैरह, इन्होंने बहुत कोशिश किया जिससे कि ये लोग पीछे ना रह जाए, इनको भी सारी सुविधा होनी चाहिए, इसलिए इसके द्वारा नेटवर्क बढ़ाई गई स्वदेशी लोगों के लिए. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just to give you an idea. And then in 1988, you had the Constitution that finally they recognized the indigenous social, they have their own social organization, customs, language, beliefs, and traditions, and admit the further cultural plurality of Brazilian nation. It's very important. It helps a lot, but still you have to fight for this. Law does not mean that it's going to change the culture, but it was the beginning. It was at least they could hold in something, and finally they were citizens. Before they didn't have passport, they didn't have ID, they couldn't vote. And after 1988, yes, they are citizens.
1988 में लोग ब्राजीलियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने इन लोगों को, जो स्वदेशी लोगों के लिए, इनको सिटीजनशिप की वो दिया, तो उससे उनको लीगल मिली. नहीं तो पहले उनको ऐसा नहीं था कि उनके लिए, जैसा हम यहाँ बोलते हैं आधार कार्ड या अपने नाम का कोई आईडी नहीं था, लेकिन इन लोगों के लिए उस तरह से आ गया. तो ये लोग भी लगा कि वो उस राज्य के हैं, उनको जगह मिला, तो हर चीज में जैसे सोशल हो या हर में एक लॉ तो आ गया. लेकिन लॉ कैसे भी आया, तो कभी भी किसी चीज के सहारे वो लॉ को लेके बोल सकते कि हमें कोई कुछ कर नहीं सकता, लेकिन जो कल्चर थी, उस कल्चर को बदलाव लाने में बहुत वक्त लगता. अभी भी बदलाव क्योंकि लोग इसको वो उसको मान नहीं रहे हैं. लॉ है तो भी उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना उनको मुश्किल पड़ रहा है. थोड़ी बहुत चेंजेस आई है, लेकिन फिर भी जो कल्चर में बदलाव अभी भी और आना है.
Okay, and then it's very important to this intertribal committee of memory indigenous science. These two brothers, Carlos Terena and Marcos Terena, they founded this intertribal committee, and they are responsible for the indigenous games in Brazil. And then was in 1990, that was when we have the Eco 92 in Rio de Janeiro.
ये जो दो भाई हैं, कार्लोस जस्टिनो टेरेना और मार्कोस मरियानो टेरेना, ये दोनों भाई हैं. इन लोगों ने स्वदेशी खेल के लिए बहुत कुछ किया, क्योंकि ये लोग भी इंडिजिनस के थे, लेकिन ये काफी ऊपर, काफी हाई लेवल पे आ चुके थे. इसलिए ये लोगों ने स्वदेशी लोगों के लिए स्वदेशी खेल को भी और ज्यादा आगे बढ़ाया, क्योंकि ये लोग अच्छे स्थान पे, अच्छे पोजीशन पे रह चुके थे.
Okay, and they had a dream, these two brothers, Special Carlos, to bring the games and rituals from the indigenous lands to the city. That's what they did it.
अभी ये जो भाई है उसमें से कार्लोस, इन लोग का एक स्वप्न था कि ये जो भी ये लोग जो खेलते हैं अपने ट्राइब में या गेम, उसको सिटी में लाया जाए और लोग देखे ये गेम क्या है. तो इनकी ये थी कि जो भी अंदर चल रहा है उसको बाहर की दुनिया देखनी चाहिए कि उनका जो रीति रिवाज, उनका खेल कैसा है. तो उनका स्वप्न ये था.
Okay, I'm sorry. And well, and then it was a big fight for them. They convinced at that time, the first one, Pelé, the football player, was the Minister of Sport. And then he agreed to start this movement with them. And then they had this committee, intertribal committee that they organized. And then together with the Minister of Sport, Minister of Education, Minister of Justice, Minister of Sport, the civil society, university, NGOs, media, it was a big movement that happened in Brazil.
ये जो स्वदेशी खेल है, इन लोगों ने जब कोशिश किया दोनों भाइयों ने, तब जो फुटबॉल का आप जानते हैं पहले वो थे मिनिस्टर स्पोर्ट, तो उनको भी उन्होंने कन्विंस कराया, वो तैयार हो गए। उसके मुताबिक इन्होंने एक कमेटी बनाई जो सारी इंटर ट्राइबल, जो ट्राइबल आपस में अपना एक है वो खेल प्रदर्शन करें। उसके साथ उन्होंने मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ जस्टिस भी लिया, सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्पोर्ट्स, सबको साथ में ले लिया, एनजीओ सारे सब मिलके इन्होंने तैयार किया। ये पहले जो फुटबॉल के जो लेजेंड पहले थे उनकी वजह से जो मान गए यही, और ये दोनों भाई की वजह से ये लोग कर सके, प्रदर्शन कर सके स्वदेशी खेलों का।
Okay, in the games, you can see participation of women that they never participate, but it's an interesting place because you have the time, different time. It means the ancestral and the time now, the space that change from the local village to the city, and then the power, because everybody wants to have the power to be responsible. I am the organization. The minister thinks, well, no, I'm putting the money, I am organized, I have the rights to do things. And the indigenous say no, because we want. And then there is this struggle. It's very interesting to study. We did a lot of research on that. But you can see the scientific knowledge and bureaucracy, how to organize a big event like Olympic Games and everything. But at the same time, you have the traditional knowledge. And then the women participation comes more and more in these games.
ये स्वदेशी खेल का जब हुआ था तो इसमें देखें किस जो समय है और किस जगह पर है, ये पावर का बहुत खेल था, क्योंकि इनको ये लोग बहुत बड़ा इवेंट कराना चाहते थे, हर जगह लाए। तो इसमें ये बदला था क्योंकि ये गांव, ये जंगलों में या गांव में नहीं था, ये शहर में था, इसलिए उसकी वजह से काफी बदलाव आया। लेकिन जब ओलंपिक जैसे हम खेल बोलते हैं तो लेकिन इन लोग को अपना ट्रेडिशनल खेल का प्रदर्शन करना था, तो इसमें ये साइंटिफिक नॉलेज भी आ गई, और जो है जो ट्रेडिशन है, जो इनका जो खेल है उनके बारे में जानकारी वो भी आया, और साथ में ये सब एक साथ शामिल हुआ। लेकिन सबसे अच्छी बात ये थी कि स्त्रियां भी भाग लेना शुरू कर दी, क्योंकि ये उस समय का वक्त अलग था। अगर वो जंगलों में या अपने गांव में होते तो वहां शायद नहीं कर पाते, क्योंकि वो दूसरे जगह था। तो इसलिए बोलते हैं समय का और जगह का बहुत अलग फर्क है, जिससे कि वो सब अच्छा प्रदर्शन कर पाए। और इसमें सब देखते हैं पावर की, क्योंकि वो लोग बोलते हैं हमने ऐसा ही खेल का प्रयोजन खेल कराया, वो एक बहुत बड़ी एक अचीवमेंट होती है। तो सब काफी लोग पावर के लिए भी करते हैं।
Okay, and then you have the games. The first one was 1996 when Pelé allowed them to start having. And then you see you have all of these games in Guaíra, in Paraná, Marabá, Campo Grande, and then you see all the cities and the states. And the last one was the first World Indigenous Game. It was in 2015. They were planning to have last year again, but because of the COVID, we couldn't. And then I don't know when they're going to organize, but that's something very interesting. See how many games they could do it. The important thing is not to win, but to celebrate. That's the motto. They don't are interested to win. Win is not important for them, but they want to celebrate during the games, to show the city, to show the world that the winner is important, yes, but the celebration is more important.
अभी इसका जो मोटो था कि ये खेल स्वदेशी खेल जीतने के लिए नहीं है, लेकिन जश्न मनाने के लिए है, जो स्वदेशी खेल है। आप देखेंगे 1996 से इन लोग का पहला खेल, ये जो इंडिजिनस लोग का ट्राइब था, वो 1996 से शुरुआत हुई थी। लेकिन आप देखेंगे 99, 2000, 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, और फिर आप देखेंगे कि इसके अलावा कि ये जाके 2015 में इन लोग का पहला वर्ल्ड इंडिजिनस गेम हुआ। ये हम लोग के लिए काफी इंपॉर्टेंट भी है, क्योंकि अगर वर्ल्ड इंडिजिनस गेम आता है, हमारे यहाँ के इंडिजिनस गेम भी एक्चुअली जाना चाहिए था। तो वर्ल्ड इंडिजिनस गेम हुआ है 2015 में, तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा एक अचीवमेंट रहा है, क्योंकि जो स्वदेशी लोग अपना खेल करते हैं उसकी प्रदर्शन सिर्फ नहीं है, दुनिया को देखना चाहिए किस तरह का खेल है, क्योंकि वो उनके लिए उनका रीति रिवाज या उनका कल्चर को प्रेजेंट करता है। इसका जो मोटा था मेनली था खेल जीतने के लिए नहीं है, लेकिन खेल है कि जश्न मनाने के लिए। और मेरे को तो 2015 का जो पाल्मस का बताया इन लोगों ने, ये पहला वर्ल्ड इंडिजिनस गेम था, जिसके आई थिंक ये बहुत बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट जानकारी हमारे लिए भी है। थैंक्स।
Okay, what happened? The game, we have the opening when they start coming, and the women, men, opening the arena where the game starts, and you have some audience there. In general, it's for free, but you should bring some food to share with the low social class in the city. The handcraft, that the way that they bring some handcrafts from their community to sell, and then they can bring some money back. The social forum, that's something very interesting, because during the game, and then you have in the evenings or in the mornings, in general in the mornings, because it's too hot, and then you have some social forum, and then have different themes like health, education, social rights, and human rights, and different, every time they choose, and then they invite some researchers, some indigenous to speak, and to have some exchange, and then they exchange some ideas. And then there is the dormitory that they, in general, they have to make a special place for them. Food, the food, some very special. Some of them do not drink water. They drink water with honey, and then they have to bring their own honey. And the other ones, they don't eat meat. The other ones eat meat, and then it's something very difficult to organize the food for them. And displacement is something very interesting. Some of them comes from the jungle. It's hard. When you go to Amazon, I hope one day we could go to Amazon together. You can see all the reviews. They can come by boat and then get the plane and go to the city where the festival, the indigenous games would be. And some of them live in the south, get the bus and go. See, and then the displacement is something very difficult to organize. Okay.
अभी आपने सुना होगा, मैडम बता रही थी कि इनकी जो फंक्शन, जो गेम चलती है, उसमें सबसे पहले ओपनिंग सेरेमनी होती है, जो एरिया उसको सही तरह सजाया जाता है। और दूसरी बात है ये हस्तकला, हैंडीक्राफ्ट बोलते हैं, वो अपना अपना जो हस्तकला होती है वो लाते हैं, जिससे कि वो बेच पाए शहरों में, तो उससे वो लोग कुछ कमा भी पाते हैं। काफी सोशल फोरम भी थे, वो अपना खाना लाते हैं वहां से। और इसके अलावा काफी है कि वहाँ एजुकेशन के लिए भी अवेयरनेस क्रिएटिंग काफी चीजें होता है वहां की, जो माहौल बिल्कुल अलग होती है। हमारे जैसा हम बोलते हैं ओलंपिक्स, या इसके अलावा ये कुछ अलग ही होता है, क्योंकि ये लोग हर जगह अपना जो रीति रिवाज है, अपनी हस्तकला, अपना जो खाना, उसकी प्रदर्शन भी करते हैं, जिससे कि और लोग उसके बारे में जानकारी लें। और तो मैडम ये बता, जैसे काफी जगह मैडम भी जा चुके हैं, आप भी जानते हैं। हमने जब हम ऐसे बोलते हैं आदिवासी लोग बोलते हैं, हम लोग बोलते हैं आदिवासी, कई जगह तो हम वो लोग हमको अंदर आने नहीं देते हैं। अमेज़न जैसे जगह पे मैडम एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट से जा चुकी है, तो कई लोग वो लोग हमें एक्सेप्ट नहीं करते हैं, तो बोलते हैं बहुत अच्छा रहता है, कई बार इनके पास जाओ, उनको समझना मुश्किल है, लेकिन अगर वो समझ जाते हैं तो उनको कई बार बाहर की दुनिया से डर लगता है। वो लोग सोचते हैं कि ये लोग शायद ये लोग हमारे साथ क्या करेंगे, हमारा जो रीति रिवाज है क्या उसको बदलेंगे, तो हमेशा उनको वो मन में शक रहता है। तो इसीलिए ही हम लोग आदिवासी का थोड़ा अच्छा रहेगा बोलने से, तो उनकी जो है, उनका जो खेल का प्रदर्शन है। यस मैम।
Okay. And it's interesting, in the beginning, the women would come to the first games. They were just watching and accompanying their husband in the games. And the mothers always bring small children with them. That's a problem, the games, because the children, many times they get sick, they have to go to the hospital. It's crazy. But they don't leave the small children behind. And then they would come for dancing, the rituals that they were allowed, and the handicrafts, and the social forum that they could participate.
अभी ये बता रहे हैं कि मैडम की जो स्त्रियां शुरू के खेल में वो अपने हस्बैंड के साथ आते थे, वो सिर्फ उनके साथ साथ आते हैं खेल देखने के लिए, और कई बार जो माताएं तो अपने बच्चों को साथ लेके आते हैं, लेकिन इसलिए नहीं लाते, कई बार बच्चे बीमार हो जाते हैं, और ये लोग अपनी जो है अपनी जो रीति रिवाज है वहां का जो डांस है, जो है नाच वहां का, वो लोग दिखाना चाहते हैं, और हस्तकला अपना लाते हैं, जिससे कि वो इधर थोड़ा बेच पाए, उससे थोड़ा पैसा भी मिल जाता है। और यहाँ कई सोशल फोरम होती है जहाँ लोग चर्चा करते हैं, एक एक जो आदिवासी ट्राइब या ग्रुप उनके बारे में चर्चा होती है, तो जो कुछ भी आगे उनको समझाना होता है या उनके लिए कुछ करने के लिए, वैसा भी एक प्लेटफॉर्म होता है। यस मैम।
Okay, and we did the research in 2011, and then they would say women before they didn't play football in old days, but they do now. Why? Well, the society is changing, and then they go to the games and to the indigenous game. They see the other group, the other women playing, and then and then they sit in the community. They have to talk with the old people. The old people, allowed or not, old people in the family or in the whole group. And then the other said, the Kaigangi, the games have contributed to the valorization of traditional sports that were being left aside, archery, body painting for you to work, and then to help to the self-esteem. They feel they are recognized by the city. People go there and then it's good for them. And in the village, football is often played. See, that was Maori. That was another group. They were playing the football since they were little. And then there's a story that the father allowed when she was a child, she was growing up. But when she got married, the husband didn't want her to participate anymore. But the father had a lot of power in the community, and then he invited, and then the husband had to allow. Because in general, when the woman get married, many times the husband does not allow them to participate more. That's a problem because of they are more sedentary. We have a lot of high of sedentary people in the indigenous communities, especially for women after getting married.
स्त्रियां जो पहले वो लोग फुटबॉल जैसा खेल खेलते नहीं थे, लेकिन आजकल वो खेल रहे हैं, और आजकल की बदलाव की वजह से हम देख रहे हैं कि कई खेल होते हैं जिसमें काफी वीरता का प्रदर्शन होता है, वो सब जो ट्रेडिशनल स्पोर्ट्स है उसी में से मिल पाती है। लेकिन आजकल लोगों ने आर्चरी और बॉडी पेंटिंग कई चीजों का उन्होंने लिया, जिससे कि वो अपना आत्मविश्वास बढ़ा सके। और ये लोग दिखाते हैं कि आजकल जो दिख रहा है कि फुटबॉल भी काफी खेला जा रहा है, जबकि छोटे से देख रहे थे कि लोग नहीं कर पा रहे, लेकिन लोग अभी खेल पा रहे हैं क्योंकि बदलाव आया है। फिर सबसे बड़ी बात, दूसरी बात, ये सब मैं आपको आदिवासी लोगों की बता रही हूँ कि ये लोग बताते कि जैसे इनके पिताजी थे, वो ही इनको काफी प्रोत्साहन दे रहे थे, उसको खेलने के लिए ज्यादा एनकरेज कर रहे थे, और इन्होंने ये एक खिलाड़ी बन भी गए। लेकिन जब उसके बाद में जब इसकी शादी हो गई, जब गए, तो वो उसमें हो गया कि शादी के बाद इन लोगों का जो पति है वो इसमें खेल के लिए बिल्कुल भी प्रोत्साहन नहीं देते, खेलने के लिए परमिट नहीं करते हैं, उसके लिए मनाही है। तो ये एक चीज जो देखा गया, ये तो आम हमें भी देखते हैं, लेकिन ये जो आदिवासी में काफी ये देखा गया है। ये पूरा आदिवासी के बारे में जो उन पे सर्वे स्टडी किया है, उसी पे बताया। यस मैम।
Okay, and then you see how the games were so important for them that help them in the process of resignification, because the game they permit myth, cultural values, and congregate a symbolic world of different ethnicities. That's what happened there before. They were not allowed. Why? Because they were, some of the games are in these cultural values, only men could participate. But every practice has a symbolic meaning. That's something to understand, even in this process of resignification. We needed to think that they have different meaning. They don't practice every day. They have some dates, some special period of the time, of the year, that they go and they practice. And the women are allowed to play some games that were forbidden in the past. And that's something very good for this events could help them to participate more and more and more.
आजकल देखा ये है कि स्त्रियां पहले था कि जो रीति रिवाज था वो लोग नहीं कर पा रहे, लेकिन ये जो भी रीति रिवाज है ये सब सिंबॉलिक है। और इन लोगों को जो प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, ये जो प्रैक्टिस करती है इसका भी अर्थ सिंबॉलिक ही रहता है। ये देखा गया कि पहले स्त्रियां नहीं कर पाती थी, लेकिन आजकल देखा गया कि कई गेम्स में उनको अभी भी कई गेम में उनको कर सकते, लेकिन कई गेम में मनाई है। लेकिन काफी बदलाव आ रहा है। लेकिन आप देखेंगे पिक्चर में देखेंगे कि स्त्रियां कितनी पावरफुल है, लेकिन कितना अपना ट्राइबल है तो भी अपना प्रदर्शन से इनको सिर्फ खेल नहीं है, ये खेल के द्वारा ये इनको बहुत कुछ और सीख मिल रही है। वो अपना खुद स्वयं आत्मनिर्भर बन रहे हैं। तो ये सब बहुत अच्छा तरीका से कि ग्रुप में आप देख रहे हैं, तो ये इसीलिए बताया गया इंडिजिनस में अभी स्त्रियों को भी आगे बढ़ावा मिल रहा है।
And then it's interesting when they play football or soccer that we call in Brazil, the athletes are presenting the organization of teams and matches. And when they choose who are going to win, is going to play, in general, when you think about that, you get the best one. No, not them. I mean, who is going, the coach is going to choose, sometimes relate to the family, sometimes relate to she plays well, but it's a mix of relatives and then also the abilities of to play. And the way that they celebrate after the game, when they win or when they lose, is very different from ethnic group to another one. You can see that it's related to the way that they are being, the way that the ethos of each group.
इसमें आप देखिए खेल में जीत या हार होती है, वो किस तरह से अपना खुशी मनाते हैं। ये अलग अलग जो ग्रुप होता है उनके मुताबिक, उनके रीति रिवाज के मुताबिक लोग अपना प्रदर्शन करते हैं, एक जैसा नहीं करते हैं। सब अपना तरीके से जब जीतते हैं खाते हैं, अपना जो कल्चर है अपना किस ढंग से उसको उभरता है वो अलग है, वो उनके रीति रिवाज पे फर्क है। इसलिए इनका एक जैसा नहीं, जो हम ज्यादातर खेल में देखते हैं वैसा आप इनमें नहीं पाएंगे।
And you can see the games, these indigenous games, help the participation in public life, in games and sports for women that they were not allowed. They build new social roles and rethink and affirm their rights in indigenous national societies. That's something extremely important, especially when the government that we have now, they don't recognize them, and the president thinks that they should integrate. They don't understand to understand that they have their rights, and especially because some of them live nearby the gold mine and some mines that the government wants. That's something that we are passing in a very difficult situation. And the games, it helps them. Many people are aware about people, the indigenous, and then the women that are so important.
जो स्वदेशी लोगों का जो खेल है, या स्वदेशी लोगों के लिए, हम जैसे बोलते हैं आदिवासी या स्वदेशी लोगों के लिए, स्त्रियों के लिए काफी प्रॉब्लम्स होती है। लेकिन ये जो खेलते हैं ये पब्लिक लाइफ की होती है, उनकी जो खेल होती है, ये खेल के द्वारा ये काफी सामाजिक सामाजिक रोल्स भी ये लोग सीख पाते हैं उसमें। लेकिन इसमें एक सबसे बड़ी बात है कि इनको अपनी जो राइट्स क्या है, ये क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट काफी आगे आ रही है, इन लोग को मदद करने की कोशिश कर रही है, इसलिए इन लोगों के लिए क्या क्या जरूरत है गवर्नमेंट उसके मुताबिक ला रही, जिससे कोई छूटे ना, सबको मौका मिला जाए। तो इसमें इनकी राइट्स भी आई है। तो ये खेल के द्वारा, स्वदेशी खेल के द्वारा ये अपनी राइट्स की जानकारी भी ला पाते हैं और उसको अपने जो सोसाइटी में, समाज के स्तर पे उसका उपयोग करते हैं। माने उसके बारे में वो लोग जानकारी देने की वजह से, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ सबसे बड़ी बात है कि हम जब राइट्स के बारे में नहीं आता, हम कुछ कर नहीं पाते, वो हमेशा लोग टोकते हैं। लेकिन इसलिए जब ऐसा एक मौका मिलता है खेल के द्वारा जो अपने राइट्स की जानकारी, राइट के बारे में मालूम करना, तो वो हमारे लिए वो फायदा है।
Just to give a general idea what kind of participation they can have, like log running and variation, yes, female and male. And the strange hope is a female and male. See, and the other archery, everything that's related to hunting is still is on the hand of men. See, the canoe is hunting and also fishing because it has to do with their daily life. And another one, see the some fighting, yes, you could see on the photos, male and female. Also the balls, everything related to the balls and football, yes, for they are allowed. And running and swimming, the women are allowed.
अभी आप यहाँ देखेंगे स्त्रियों के लिए कई खेल है, लेकिन कई खेल में स्त्रियों का अभी भी उसमें शामिल उनके लिए कंपटीशन नहीं है। जैसे कि स्त्रियों के लिए पहले दिखाया था, इसमें यहाँ दिखाया कि 100 मीटर, 400 मीटर, 500, 5000 मीटर स्विमिंग में भी स्त्रियां भाग ले रही हैं, जबकि बॉल गेम्स में भी है और फाइटिंग में भी स्त्रियां हैं। लेकिन कई स्टिक गेम है, इन लोगों का अलग है, बाउलिंग है, कई खेल में उन्होंने अभी भी स्त्रियों को स्त्रियां उसका कॉम्पिटिशन रखा नहीं, कैटेगरी रखा नहीं है। अब आप प्रीवियस में भी देखेंगे कि कैन्यू और हंटिंग वगैरह में स्त्रियों के लिए रखा नहीं है, लेकिन और कई में स्त्रियों का स्त्रियां भाग ले सकते हैं कंपटीशन में, उनके लिए अभी भी भाग लेने का है। तो ये अभी ये बता रहे कि काफी मुश्किल पड़ता है जहां स्त्री के लिए कंपटीशन, वो बोलेंगे नहीं आप स्त्रियां नहीं कर पाएंगी कंपटीशन, लेकिन ये धीरे धीरे बदलाव की वजह से इतना एटलीस्ट कंपटीशन है जहां स्त्रियां भी भाग ले सकती हैं।
Okay. And then finally getting to the end, and the meaning of the games, women can become visible through their handicaps, dance, we saw, and sports, soccer, and to rename themselves and to build new identities. That's something very important for them. Men and women are in the process of empowerment, self-determination to national and international levels.
स्त्रियां खेल के द्वारा वो विजुअल माने वो सामने दिखती है, लेकिन खेल सिर्फ नहीं, खेल है, हस्तकला है, गीत होंगे, गाना या हर चीज की वजह से वो अपना एक अस्तित्व, अपना एक आइडेंटिटी बना सकते हैं, जिसके द्वारा वो दिखता है कि हाँ ऐसा है। क्योंकि अभी हम भी बोलते हैं देखो खेल में सबने किया, लेकिन ये आदिवासी बच्चा बहुत अच्छा खेल में आया, तो उसको उसकी जानकारी उसके बारे में लोग जानते हैं। फिर ये है कि ये उनको एम्पावर कर सकता है अगर ये खेल के द्वारा स्त्री और पुरुष दोनों के लिए, क्योंकि यहाँ भी जरूरत है दोनों के लिए, सिर्फ एक का नहीं है। क्योंकि अगर ये लोग अपने आप को प्रूव करें, एम्पावर करें, तभी तो वो देशी लेवल पे, अंतरराष्ट्रीय लेवल पे आ सकते हैं। तो इसके लिए ये मौका खेल के द्वारा जरूर मिलता है। तो लेकिन इसमें ये लोग सिर्फ खेल नहीं, खेल के अलावा वो कुछ भी करते हैं जहां वो अपना रीति रिवाज, अपना जो कल्चर है उसका प्रदर्शन करके वो देखते कि हम कैसे देशी स्तर पे एक्सेप्ट कर रही या अंतरदेशीय स्तर पर हमें वो एक्सेप्ट करें।
Well, the log running, you see, it's in general are people from the north of Brazil that they do log running, and that you have this running to celebrate when they have a very good hunting, very good something special that they bring the log and then they run in the city, in the village. And the women, yes, they participate, but the weight for men is 100 kilos, and then for women 60 kilos. It's heavy. It's very heavy for women too.
ये लॉगरन जो तो बोला है कि माने भारी लकड़ी होता है, लकड़ी माने वो बड़ा पेड़ का जो होता है, वो आदमी लोगों के लिए 100 किलो होता है और स्त्रियों के लिए 60 किलो होता है। ये लोग लेके आते हैं, उसको लेके भागते हैं। तो हमारे जैसा खेल नहीं है, उसको बोलते हैं लॉग रन। लॉग है बड़ी जो लकड़ी होती है बहुत बड़ी, उसी को उठा के ये लोग भागते हैं ग्रुप में। तो उसके लिए वेट बताया है। तो ये लोग आते हैं, उसमें भाग लेते हैं। ये उन लोगों का उनका जो गेम है लॉग रन है, उसको बोलते हैं लॉग रन। Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, what happened with all these games, because the game is something very expensive, huh? And then you have around 800 people going there, the indigenous people. But what happened that in the small villages and the communities, they start organizing their own games. See, and then the influence was very good. There was on the right side was in Bahia. They have almost every year when they can have it, not during the pandemic. But in the south, in the state of São Paulo, they would have also the Guarani. They would have this festival that they call more festival, and it's for the children, for the young people, and for old people.
ये अपने अपने जो जगह पर ये लोग अपना खेल का प्रदर्शन करते हैं, तो इसमें ये देखा गया कि इनको त्योहार के तरीके, ये एक त्योहार सा मनाते हैं ये लोग, जो खेल है स्वदेशी खेल को त्योहार जैसा मनाते हैं, और ये लोग अपने अपने जो जगह है वहां पर ये खेल करते हैं। तो आप अभी ऊपर भी देख रहे हैं कि ये लॉग रन है लकड़ी का, जो ये सारा एक त्योहार के मुताबिक है, क्योंकि इसमें बहुत पैसा भी खर्च होता है, इन सबको अपने जगह से शहर में आना पड़ता है, तो इसमें काफी पैसा भी खर्चा है, लेकिन ये सब होने के बावजूद सब एक साथ मिलजुल के ही करते हैं। तो इसके लिए ये लोग अपने अपना जो रीति रिवाज है उसका प्रदर्शन खेल के द्वारा हर जो आदिवासी ग्रुप है, अपना ट्राइब है, वो अपना करते हैं। इसका पिक्चर भी देख रहे हैं ऊपर जो दिख रहा है।
Okay, we have 2015, as I said, we had the World Indigenous Games in Brazil, and then in 2017 was in Canada. I'm going to show these two videos. Do I have time?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. And I think it's better if you show one for us, the first one, then the second one.
All the events at this particular sports meeting stand out and hark back to ages past. Sprinters run on sand barefooted, leaving aside any Nike or Adidas shoes. The rugby-like event is contested half-clothed, without any padding. Male competitors run barefooted as well, but carry a log. The tug of war is contested by strong women with mythical tattoos on their faces. Arrows are shot toward a fish-shaped target, segmented for different scores. The wrestling is fierce and flesh against flesh, but always ends in friendly gestures. The javelin throwing is mindful of a duel between two men, fighting for the ownership of a woman or a piece of land. The first ever World Indigenous Games were held from October 23rd to November 1st in the agricultural town of Palmas in Brazil's southern state of Paraná. Around 1,800 ethnic contestants from over 20 countries and regions have gathered to compete in 10 events, which evolved from the Indigenous Peoples' Games first held in Brazil in 1996. In the near future, organisers plan to promote the competition into an Indigenous Olympics, which will hopefully be a boon for the 370 million Indigenous people worldwide.
Okay, yes, let's go.
very happy and very proud and for the young ladies and for my coaches and for our families back home. It's never experienced a feeling like this, and the atmosphere has been one of the greatest moments of my life in regards to what was the fans. Holy cow! It's special. Most special times in my sporting life, and I've had very many very great moments in my life. But this is the most satisfying moment as a coach in my lifetime, and I can't express how happy I am for my team and the challenges and their perseverance. They're all only young ladies, and they've made our country proud, made our First Nations proud, and made our women and girls proud in our country. And I also like to acknowledge the Brazilian team, and they made their villages and their women proud and their country proud as well.
What's interesting that the Canadian coach, he's doing a wonderful job work with the indigenous girls there. What happened, I had an interview with him when he came to Brazil, and then he was telling me that these young people, some of them were in drugs, some of them were, their self-esteem was very bad, and then they start playing sports, doing sports with special soccer. And then his story is wonderful. I'm very glad that he won. And he said nation. It's interesting that in Canada it's possible that they recognize their nation, the indigenous nations. In Brazil, they don't do this anymore. It was kind of forbidden because the idea of to have only one country. And then they have ethnic groups, they have communities, they have but nation. They try to do this. Before they used the name, but now they don't use anymore. And during the pandemic, the situation changed a lot. They were extremely affected, men, women, children, especially old people. Many old people died, and you can see the knowledge, many of the secrets of their ancestors are on the mind of these old people that they died. But and then in many ways they were affected. Now they are more sedentary and we take care of the visits. The climate change is affecting a lot their way of being, and the food security, the undernutrition, the obesity, the sedentarism, the alcoholism that have a lot, ecosystem, the innovation, sustainability, and then we needed to pay attention to try to help them a lot on this area. For women, for men also, but I'm talking more about women and for the children. And thank you very much. Namaste. And I hope I could bring some information on the indigenous games and the women.
Thank you, Beatrice. It was such a wonderful session because you took us around to those which we rarely see. We do have indigenous tribes here too. We do have festivals and their games conducted in a different way. So when you said the world, I thought, why not even India be brought into it? But I don't know about the games that they may not be familiar with the games that they have, because our games are very different than their games. But to at least display the games, display their dance form, art form, then that's different. So it's such a wonderful thing. And you brought to us, I mean, you said of getting into the Amazon River. My God, it was so exciting to hear all this. Wow, it's such a wonderful experience that you get it. So I think it's such a rich experience, and you brought it through. And the best part was giving life to these people through sport and getting them, channelizing them to the right path was a great initiative. So I think we need to hats off to the Canadian government for this wonderful job that they did, but including Brazil too, because you're the one who was taken, and the two brothers, Carlos, and you have done a wonderful thing for this particular community. Wonderful session, Beatrice. It was such a wonderful session. At times I had a problem with translating certain words which were there. That was a problem for me with.
Thank you for translating.
Anyway, it was wonderful. So I think the picture speaks. I don't need to speak. That does it. So well, fine. For remarks, let me get in. Dr. Yuri, for your remarks, please.
Am I the first one?
Yeah.
Well, Beatrice, that was for me a very educational session. I have to admit that you have opened the scope of the phenomena of indigenous games and culture and history. And what you actually, in my humble opinion, have presented is that time has come to our civilization to respect cultures and people, no matter where, no matter from wherever they are, and learn how to accept and to welcome and to enrich our knowledge and understanding, that there are so variety of ways to express physical activity and dignity and respect, and that there are wonderful, in what you have presented, there is a wonderful way in which we learn about the development of the role of physical activity. It's not always to develop physical fitness. It's not always to get status. As I said yesterday in my presentation, play has a very important meaning in the development of human being. And games and traditional games are doing the same way on a higher level. So we can see that sport and games and the traditional games are adding such a wonderful flavor to human being, to humankind. And I think for me, it was a fantastic presentation. The video at the very beginning, as Rosa Dickenmiller said, it was great, right, Rosa? I think we all agree that we learn. I mean, I have not realized how many women are in leading positions globally. And I think if you can share with me this video, I would love to have it, because it is so meaningful and it is in place, and that's how it should be. And as maybe as Darlene put it, it's just the beginning. Well, I don't know if it's just the beginning or we are already on the right track, but this way or another, it's a wonderful situation that we can learn from it so much and respect everywhere, wherever they are around the globe. So Beatrice, congratulations for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yuri. When you speak, it makes a difference. Usually we say ladies first, women first, but then you are the one here. You ask me why me first. So thank you for accepting. Thank you for accepting.
Maybe part of my character or personality has to do something with lady. Who knows?
No, not at all. No. You gave us the
That means
share.
you are a balanced, great human being, because that's what we all are. First, are humans.
That's great.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
No, you accept and appreciate, which is rarely seen. That's the best part which you are being the president. That's why you have a lot of women in your the group too. So I think that's because you do give, you just don't speak. And you said, thank you so much, Dr. Yuri, for this wonderful information and the feedback that you've given. Madam Rosa, we haven't, Rosa Lopez. Yeah, I'm seeing you after a long time and all are eagerly waiting to listen to your feedback.
Thank you very much. I was expecting Rosa Dick Mueller.
No, that's why I said,
fine.
Rosa, I bring up Rosa in. Next.
Thank you very much for this wonderful session. I mean, first of all, it is good to be back. I'm really happy to share with you all. Thank you. And I knew and I was confident that you had very good panelists. I knew that Uri, Darlene were always going to be there supporting, okay? And Rosa, with her presentation and her topic, I know that I have nothing to worry about. Like, our friends were there to support, okay? And Beatrice, it's always a pleasure to listen to you talking about the indigenous game and to bring more awareness and understanding about indigenous people in the world. And I think that's a subject that still we all need to keep on learning, because in spite of the fact that, as they said, and they are the owners of the land, I mean, we still, I mean, society knows little about what has been going on, okay? So still there are lots of lessons to be learned. Now, Beatrice, I have a question. In order to be part of the team, I mean, in one of the teams, how do I get engaged to be part of being recognized as an indigenous person and to be part of it? For example, why do I say so? Like in Venezuela, we have a saying that everybody has a bit of Spaniard, of Indian, and of black people or people of color. But in here, it is not seen in that way. So we have a bit of African, Indian, and Spaniard, okay, background. So there is a mix. So it's very difficult to say, okay, you are out or not. So how would you, or are there rules in the indigenous game to distinguish when you can be part of a team if you belong to a particular indigenous group? So could you please explain that part?
Yes, well, first, the population, the population data, the official one, they changed in Brazil. Now is language, the settlement, where place you live, you are in the community or in the city, and also the self-determination. You say, I am the Indian, I am, see? And then there are these three. That's why if you see the demographic, it changed a lot. It changed more. We have more, because before they were even ashamed. They didn't feel comfortable to say that they're Indian because of the prejudice. Now they can say, no, I am. Okay. But then to be selected is something very difficult, because they cannot invite everybody. See, they have a budget, and then they go to the ethnic group, and then they have to talk with a representative. In general, they have two. One they call the old person, they call the chief, and the other one, that is another, they call political chief. See, and they have to talk with them, and then they made a decision. In general, they make a decision to see who is going to play. Some of them, they choose by the family. Some family is something very important for them. Some of them, because and also some of them, they have different communities. They cannot bring all of them. And then it's something that it's difficult for them to choose. But the Carlos Terena and Marcos, they don't interfere. They invite that, like the Kaigangi. The Kaigangi is more than I don't know how many, 400 people. See, they invite, go to the chief, and then they have the freedom to choose. See? And then there are a lot of complaints, because some of them feel, oh, I want to go, and then I was not invited, and then all this complaining. And that's why, but something good about this, they start playing in the small communities. See, that's because they were not invited. They say, but we can do it. And then they do it. See, it's a way of, the way that they organize themselves is different from ethnic group to the other one. But for sure, they don't want to lose, although they want to celebrate, but they want to have some prestige to bring some good people. But it's interesting when you ask why you were invited, like the other one, that woman that the husband didn't want to allow her. The father said, yes, you can go because you are so good. And they said, you can go it. And then she did it. The
Okay,
select
thank you
is not
very
like
much.
the Olympic
Yes.
game, get the best one, no. But it's get the average. Family and good ones, family and good ones.
Okay, okay, thank you. And just one more thing. In the World Indigenous Game, how many participants, I mean, around? I mean, and or how many countries?
In the world. Oh, in Brazil we had yes. Well, there is a book. I'm going to send it to you. It's a link. I'm going to send it to you. But I know that Canada came. I don't know if the U.S., Mexico, Guatemala, and I think Peru. I'm not sure about Venezuela. I'm not sure. And the New
Nearly
Zealand.
28 countries. Something was in the documentary when they was reading out. I'm not very sure. They were reading out when they were commenting onto it. I think there were a number of countries which participated.
Yeah. And Australia supposed to come, but they didn't come. They came only for when they had the launch. Yes, the people were here, but then the only people from New Zealand are so different. My goodness, with all the dance and then the games and the women. Gosh, they are such wonderful women, and they are so strong. I think they are so strong. I feel I'm not strong like them, because they are so, and the way that they speak, they have a voice. It's wonderful.
So just one question: how do they communicate with each other? Like they come in there, how do they communicate to the other tribes?
Yeah.
Once they
Well,
came
in general, in Brazil, the majority speak Portuguese, but some of them they have to bring the translator. Yes. And some of the and then like people that don't speak English, like if people come from New Zealand, they all have the translator with them to help them to speak. And in Canada was different because in Canada they don't have many what we can call traditional games. But lacrosse, for instance, yes, was from ancestor. Huh? And if you go in the YouTube, and there are some information, the women before were not allowed to play lacrosse. It's something that we couldn't think, and now they can do it. See, it's important to see how these big events help to change the world. Only like 800 people. No, the world one was more, I think 1,200 something. But I'm going to send you the link of the book. You are going to enjoy it.
Okay, thank you very much, Beatriz.
Thank you, Dr. Rosa. Dr. Rosa Dickett-Miller, for your remarks, please, madam.
Good afternoon, Beatriz, Usha, Rosa, Uri, and Darlene. Nice to see you again. It was a fantastic presentation on Indigenous games and its connection to gender and the role men and women play in these traditional games was very fascinating. And also to see how the situation changes when it comes to the integration of girls and women into these games. I found your study also very interesting with the interviews from all over the world, comparing Maori and Pataxi and the others, I don't remember the names anymore, showing how differently traditional games on the one hand developed and on the other hand, how they visualize gender roles, the barriers to engage, who allows to take part, often fathers or husbands. And on the other hand, the role sport plays for the integration of women into society, to build new social roles and to rethink the rights of indigenous people and national societies, as you've told. And I like your summary very much, that sport and indigenous games help not only women to become visible and to build new identities, but also indigenous people in general, so the men and the women who were supported through the games, and how sports helps them in the process of empowerment. And so I would say, thanks, Beatrice, for this very empowering presentation for me, and I'm sure also for the whole audience here in India as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Rosa. Madam Darlene, for your remarks, please.
Beatrice, I have to tell you, this was the best presentation on this topic I have heard you give. Yay! I'm so proud of you. Very, very good. One of the things that is so challenging, you know, for all of us, is for us as humans to be able to understand the very important role of physical activity. And Dr. Uri said this very nicely when he discussed the importance of not so much how we move, but that we move. And there are many things from indigenous people that we can take and have a wonderful experience for children and young adults to learn these different games. You know, I in a past life, I used to teach a unit on folk dance. So we would find folk dances from different countries. And I always have wondered, I've never done this, but wouldn't it be wonderful to have a unit on indigenous games for young people? Has anybody heard if someone has done that?
We do have for the practical sessions, we do have in the curriculum as indigenous, which is relevant to our context, but we don't take in the indigenous tribal, that doesn't come in. We put as indigenous, but it doesn't come in the real sense. Which is a wonderful thing, which I think IXP should come out with it, Darlene, a booklet, and IXP should come out of various countries, indigenous games that, as I said, people could read in terms of the history, because there's some of them would cease to exist anymore.
We have
that might not be a, so I'm sorry, what?
We have also some lectures on games from all over the world for our PE teachers, for the ongoing PE teachers. And they're very interested in it because it makes also clear the societal background and where it comes from and what is the aim of the game.
Yeah, and I'm not well versed in books and things that are available, but Uri, maybe that's a good idea to think about, to have actual, maybe we could develop some type of lesson plan for an indigenous game from a variety of countries. You know, a while ago, IXP did a thing on best practices for girls and women in sport kind of thing. And it might be a nice idea to have different countries through our membership put forward their best game, if you will, and then we collect them and we can put them on resources. I don't think that would be hard to do. It's just someone, again, has to champion it, you know.
I'm writing it down, and you know, you have in Australia, there are Aboriginal games, and you have it. I mean, we just need to collect what is there. So I'm writing it down and bring it up. We'll see.
And Beatrice, you know, since you're the queen of this, maybe there's a way that hopefully when you get on the board, you might be able to champion that particular thing. And you've got lots of people who can, I am sure, will contribute. I can't imagine somebody not doing this.
Yeah.
It should be very nice. And look at all the different ones from, as an example, Europe or Asia, including Philippines and so on and so forth. Because example, Philippines is tinikling. You know, how much more fun could that be, you know, with the sticks? And students of the world should recognize the importance of these things, and they're fun. You know?
Yes,
So
a
at
lot.
any rate, so again, thank you so much, and you really did a great job today.
The United Nations, when they call indigenous peoples there, does not mean the American indigenous people or aboriginals. It means the population that were there living ancestral. And see, that's why they in Norway they are in this platform of indigenous people. See, and then we have in different parts. You can see all the countries that belong to have the same framework. But when we call indigenous people, what I showed was more the American, that what happened here.
Yes, I also want to mention that some years ago, a former ICSPE member, Professor Amusa, published a very good book, nice book, about traditional African games. Okay, beautiful. Now, there has been discussion, but sometimes the topic has been like looked down, but I think it's so relevant, as Darlene indicated, and there are two discussions there. One is indigenous game, whatever is considered indigenous, as Beatriz indicated, and the other one is traditional games. So in post-colonized societies, that there are many in the world, we have the indigenous game, and the traditional games are those that came with the colonizers, and then they became popular in the country. So there are two, okay? Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Please.
I think it was wonderful because that's why I said these lessons have been, the sessions have been so not only informative, but they have been areas where you got spark of further things coming up of it. So I'm sure I'm going to put it to our government. Maybe I think we should have a museum where people should, at least when children learn, they should be going around and seeing that, because that's important part of our history. So at least in one's own country, they should be knowing more about it. So I think I'm putting, I'll share the points that I've prepared to be given to the ministry. A lot of things from all the EP sessions that you've come in. So I think there are a lot of things which I've actually planned out. I don't know if that is going to be workable, but definitely I'll share with you. And we look forward to such sessions too. So ma'am, hats off to you, because it's only you who brought in this. And it's such a wonderful session, a very important session, because giving due importance, and often in the map or thing, this is not seen. So you brought these people into limelight, and that's something which is required. So it was such a wonderful session. So on behalf of the Ministry of Pranesh, please, we'll have a feedback first. Participants for the feedback, please. Participants for the feedback, please.
You'll forgive me, but I have to leave.
So thank you so much, Dr. Yuri.
Wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for the opportunity to listen.
I'd like to let me come to the thanks part. So on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, Khelo India, a big thank you. Hats off to our most dignified speaker, the great anthropologist, and a person who was a great human. I'd say you're a great human at the outset. And your session was very not only informative, but it has set the stage for further things to come in. Yes. So ma'am, you're the person who brought in. And then you brought in a lot of things for us. You strengthened the program. And it is not just, it's been great. So thank you so much, madam, on behalf of the ministry, from Lakshmi Banashar College of Physical Education, and all my participants over here, a big thank you. I'd like to thank our President of ICSP. Thank you so much, Dr. Yuri, because when the president is here, it makes a real difference. We understand this webinar is not like any other webinar. This is a very unique webinar where we have discussions and certain points emerging, but your presence does make a difference. So thank you so much for your inspirational address and your support for this program, which is making us grow stronger. Thank you, Dr. Yuri. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Madam Rosa, who's the professor who passed away, because we have two Rosas here, man. Thank you so much, because it's after a long time. Every time we keep talking of it, but you have made it truly international, and you have set us, given us those inquisitive things where I think now, even at this stage, we feel like you want to know more, learn more, do certain things. Thank you so much for supporting this mission and making it truly global. Thank you so much, madam. I'd like to thank Rosa Deakin Miller, madam. Indeed, a great, because your areas again been so informative. I think that's what actually we are looking forward to for safeguarding. I put that for ministry and your presence, because again, thank you for supporting the P and our ministry and strengthening this particular program. And I'm sure you was the light and the path, so that actually the direction how we could go ahead. Thank you so much for valuable words. I'd like to thank the light of this program, Dr. Darling, because I again say the same. You're the one who giving us, great mentor, philosopher, guide. And at the same time, we say it's a whole network. Somebody was saying it's a networking of all sisters, and it's a family networking. That's why we don't have any hesitation in approaching. Thank you so much, darling, for this, for your tips and the support that you've done for us. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Dr. G. Kishore, as a principal and the regional director. Thank Dr. Sanjeev Patil, who's a co-host, and thank you, my dear P teachers and coaches. Thank you so much, because I understand like it's been so tiring for you. Throughout the day, you've been sitting for the session has been going on with you taking classes, attending sessions. And I always believe that you're the heart and soul of this program. And all these panelists have come in is because of you. So once again, a big thank you to each of the panelists, but at the foremost for our great speaker. Hats off, ma'am. And a namaste. Thank you so much. Namaste to each one.
Thank you.
And high five.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Namaste.
Namaste. Bye.
Good. Can we talk now?
Yes.
I think, okay, Beatriz was really good, really good. Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
know-
Thank you.
Yes, I wonder if we're still alive, because it says live in YouTube.
It's possible.
Okay, anytime we will meet later. Okay, so
Okay, did you
leave
send
it to
the-
later. The link I did. Okay, so
For me?
in
the link
Yes.
on email or the
email.
okay.
Okay, so in I think 40 minutes about. Okay,
Okay.
bye bye.
Bye. See you. Thank you, Rosa. Thank you.